I just took a look, but go ahead, sure.
Okay. So the first question, um, our first question is about your latest documentary, Tucson
Yeah,
Beach Bambi.
yeah,
It's right, Tucson Beach Bambi.
yeah. The pronunciation would be Tucson, Beach, and Bombi.
Ah,
Do
okay.
you know what it means?
No, no.
It between bitch and Bombi, and Bombi is like a innocent girl, a deer. It's like Bombi from the Disney movie.
Ah, yeah, no.
Bambi, I would say. So it's girls who are somewhere between a bitch and a real cute looking girl. It's about that, about girls, women. So that's what the documentary is about. Who have difficulty finding a man because they're highly educated.
Yeah. So the question about it is, why this theme? You really believe that the men are intimidated by a strong woman?
Yeah, for sure. Very much so. Yes, it was just. I just wanted to find out why many highly educated women have a problem with finding a partner.
Yeah.
A lot of them are single, and a lot of them have a problem with finding a partner. And so I didn't. I just it was like a search. I wanted to find out why that was. So I talked to them. I talked
Yeah.
to the women, and then I found out that this was a big thing. That men feel threatened by somebody who's smarter than them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing, and so yes, and also that's one thing, and then there's the other problem that men have is that what was the thing? It's that they're smarter, and the other thing was let me think. Let me think. It just escaped me what I wanted to tell you. Hold on. What was I going to say about that? Man, what was smarter? Yes.
Strong, maybe?
Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same thing. That has to do with it.
Hmm.
They feel threatened by the woman when she's smart, uh, and the woman yeah, it's a year ago I made that. I don't know why I can't think of it. And actually, the woman you can record it. We'll just talk or to see where it goes. The woman the woman she likes somehow. It seems like the woman she likes to have somebody to look up to.
Yeah.
See, so that's another problem. And then there's only a few men when these women are smart. And I know what I was going to say. When they're smart, there's not that many men that they can look up to. When they're smart, and and men are afraid of them. And also, these women told me that that's what I wanted to tell you, is that when they, in the process of becoming a career woman, career woman, they found out that they lost some of their femininity.
Yeah, I know.
They became more harder, less soft, and some of them, even told me they regretted that. They regretted that they lost some of their femininity, but it is just part of the process of becoming a career woman.
Yeah.
You get harder. So this is a problem for these ladies, yes, because there's only a few men, and also in the big cities like Amsterdam, for instance, where you have a lot of people who study.
Yeah.
There are actually more women studying than men, and so in the big cities there are more women who study than men.
I know.
So already this is a difficult situation for them, and then on top of that comes this thing. So anyway, so it was very interesting to make that documentary about that subject.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry for the long answer.
That's very common nowadays, right?
Yeah, it must be. I don't know. It must be the same in. I wonder how. I don't know about Brazil. It seems to me, from a distance, I've never been to Brazil, but it seems to me that women in Brazil, from a distance, they seem more feminine than the women over here.
Yeah. Okay.
You agree?
Yeah, but I don't know why. I think it's because the culture, you know, woman here is like every man is following them, you know, or treating like a goddess, you know.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
Europe, I think it's people is more cold, I guess. Right?
Yeah. And also here, there's here I think you have more influence of feminism. Feminism.
Yeah, I know.
The whole movement of empowering women. And it's caused women to become more less feminine and more, trying to be like men or be equal to men.
Yeah.
So that whole feminist thing was first good because women had they were behind in the society. They got paid less or they got treated, worse in jobs. But now the cause of the feminism was also that the women became more harsh and more trying to be like a man, and then so it's somehow maybe the development of society with feminism it went faster than men and women can adjust to. Just went faster than actually. Women and men are still instinctively more in. The man has to be strong and the woman has to be soft.
Yeah.
And that's still deep down in instinct. I don't know if it's nature or nurture, but and then the development of the feminism made that they went too fast
Okay.
somehow. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Okay. So the second question is recently the DVD of your documentary Big Fun in the Big Town was released. How do you analyze the moments of the 86 hip hop and the current hip hop? Do you believe that the hip hop movement in the United States has lost a bit of identity?
A bit of what? Of
Identity.
intensity.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, of course, actually, it's funny because I just received an offer from a production company to maybe make a follow up to my Big Fun in the Big Town,
Yeah.
and go back to the States and go back to New York and see what's going on now, more than 25 years later.
Mhm.
And they actually came up with a very good title, I thought. The production company, they said, why don't we call it Big Bucks in the Big Town? Bucks being money,
Yeah, I know.
I thought that was a very good title, and it says it all because hip hop's become so big now,
Yeah.
and it's funny because I was just listening to Jay-Z, the new Jay-Z song,
Mhm.
where he's saying, he has this, he's talking about, it's called what's it called again? Holy Grail. Holy Grail. It's a duet with Justin Timberlake. Very, very good song, by the way. But it talks about him struggling, not with poverty, but it talks about him struggling with being famous and having so much money. And, that's typical, that's to me, that's like decadence in a
Uh-huh.
way, It's like when I was filming in New York, of course, hip hop had sort of taken off a little bit, but nothing compared to now. So now, you get the stars. The stars, they are not rapping about the problems in the neighborhood, but they're talking about how they deal with fame and
Yeah.
riches and big cars and women and I don't know. So it's become much more decadent. It's not. And actually, I think that Jay-Z song. It is actually a very good song because he's a very good, musician or rapper, whatever you want to call it. But
Yeah.
of course, it says something that he's rapping about that now. And
It's in verse, right?
huh?
It's in verse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's totally changed. So it seems like it's actually come to the point where in the end of Big Fun in the Big Town, Schoolie D says, "I hope rap doesn't go that way." Like rock and roll did, where rock and roll became all soft and not rebellious, and so it is. It's just a natural development, I guess. So
Yeah.
it's time for something new to come up, from again from the young people of today who come up with something different, maybe. Though hip hop seems very strong, nowadays.
Yeah.
But maybe it's going to be like dance music or some new form of music, very rebellious, and then the same will happen to that. It will grow and grow and grow bigger, and then and that's just I'm not against it. I'm just not, it's just how it is. It's just how a normal, cycle that I guess musical movements have to go through, when they become more popular.
Okay.
So I'm not against it. Of course, it's nice to see my film, to see kids really pure, and see such a pure state where they're trying to make music. It's important to them, the music. But already then it was, for them already it was a way to escape poverty, was becoming a hip hop star or maybe a sports, basketball star or whatever. So it was a means for them to escape, poverty, and to be somebody instead of just a nobody in the slums.
Yeah, I know. So the three. Analyzing your programs and documentaries within the context of history of music, could you say why artists should document their visual and musical legacy?
That sorry, I have to. Can I just check the question because I have the list question. I have the question here. I didn't. I have to read it maybe to understand it better.
Is it?
Your proper document within the context of the history of music. Could you say why artists should document their visual? Well, I don't know if they should. I don't know. It's just. It's just if you want to, like what we just talked about, if you want to understand, like you're a history student, right?
Yeah,
If you want to
about the past.
understand, if you want to understand society, it's good to know about history, how things have developed, to know how there's always cycles in life, and there's always universal things that humanity, will always have, and then there are other things that are new developments, but so it's good to understand. And then I think it's always nice for people to when they like a certain artist or music, it's nice to you want to know more about it. You want to know how exactly where did it come from?
Yeah.
What ideas? How did it happen? Why did hip hop start in New York? What was it about New York that started this? And so of course it's always interesting to document it, but for different reasons. Sometimes you just, for sociological reasons or historical reasons, but also sometimes just because you find this artist very intriguing and you want to know all about him, and then. But the problem is, of course, nowadays I think that people are so concerned about their, the image they have in public, their public image,
Yeah.
that stars, it seems, they sort of choose how they want to represent themselves in public. So, it's sometimes you're not sure if somebody is sincere because they do it for publicity, or like, with Miley Cyrus, you don't know if all she does is sincere or if it's done because it will make publicity and it will sell her records more. So that's all, and I think what I always tried to do was to really portray people the way they are, how they really feel, and how the look out they have on life, and what their real feelings are. And nowadays, when the people, when fame comes into play and people become really famous, then people become greedy. They want to make more money.
Yeah.
And so I've been fortunate to often talk to people when they were not all that famous yet, and you could really see who they were and what motivated them to make music, for instance.
Okay. Um, for the question. We know that was you who documented the Red Hot Chili Peppers' first European tour in,
Yeah.
in 1987. How this documentary was made, and what can you tell us about that time?
Well, it was like this. I had a chance to make a documentary, actually six documentaries for my
Yeah,
television
six.
company. Yeah, and and I thought, oh, I had some big stars like Iggy Pop, Nick Cave was already like sort of big stars, and hip hop was something else. And then I thought it would be nice to make one film about a young upcoming band.
Mm.
So I just going around the record store and looking at new bands, and so then I found this new band, the Red Hot Chili Peppers, that I hadn't heard of, and they only had their second album out, I think,
Yeah.
just about. So yeah, so I just thought, hey, their music was very different because they combined punk, sort of with funk, and metal with funk, and the rapping and everything. So I thought that was interesting. They had an interesting mix.
Yeah.
This was way before they got really popular and were more, got more song oriented. It was more like a live band, very exciting and very visual, which was interesting.
Yeah.
So I decided to see if I could make a film about them. And then I found out they were coming to Europe for the first time. So we requested, the record company, if we could follow them for a week, which is what we did. We were the three of us, camera, sound, and me. There's three guys, and we followed them for a week. We traveled with them. We were staying in the same hotel, and just followed them and filmed the concerts and talked to them in between, And it was in the course of a week where they were just going around from Germany, Switzerland, France, Belgium, Holland, and we followed them around for a week. And so yeah, that's what we did.
Okay.
And it was interesting because that sort of became the basis of my friendship, especially with Flea, the bass player, because we got sort of along. And one day I did an interview with him in the hotel room about the band, he was very honest and open about the band.
Yeah, I saw this.
Seriously, that they need to progress and they need to change because they had been doing this for 5 years and now they needed to make new steps. So we had a really interesting talk, and that was nice. Another breakthrough moment for me with them was that when I showed them, videos of their old heroes,
Yeah.
Bootsy Collins and George Clinton, all those people, they wanted to act, which they always doing. They were also always making fun about everything, right? Joking around. But then they saw I confronted them with their influences and their idols,
Yeah.
like those people, and then they just couldn't hide. They just couldn't fake anything. They just had to say, "Wow, this is fantastic." And Flea was saying, like how Bootsy Collins had influenced him, for so long, and he copied all his shit and all that. So that's when there was a very important moment for me to actually, to connect with them on a real level, not just as making jokes in front of the camera, like what they do with other journalists. And
Yeah.
as shown in the film, they were mostly joking around in interviews. But with me, I made a good connection with them, and so that was the basis of my friendship with them for the next 10 years or so.
Yeah. 5. You interviewed them several times since then. We can say that you became friends with the band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I especially Flea. I was in the late 80s, early 90s. I would go to Los Angeles a lot because to film for a television show I just had many. And Flea was always a very good contact. I once made a show about young filmmakers and screenwriters and video artists and painters, and he helped me find a lot of people in LA because he knew, he was living there, so he helped me find those people, first of all. And then whenever I was there, I would always call him up, just call Flea and say, "How are you doing?" And we'd just go out and meet,
Yeah.
to have dinner together, or he would take me to parking. He usually took me actually to a parking lot where there would be like a little um, what is it called? Tortilla? No. What's the other thing? Burrito stand, like a
Yeah.
mixed burrito stand. It was just one guy sitting in a booth making burritos, and we'd always have a burrito, and he would just treat me to a burrito. It was just, and it wasn't really funky, but they were really good burritos, and so that was fun. So we did that. So I could always call him.
Yeah.
And one day I had like 2 hours of material that I shot with them. This was like maybe 91.
Yeah.
And then I said, well, can we do a screening of all the material at your house? So we did. We screened. I made a tape, and I screened the 2-hour tape of the first documentary plus what I had shot after that already.
Yeah.
I screened in their house, and it was very much fun. They invited a lot of friends, and actually River Phoenix was there too.
Yeah.
And that's where I met River Phoenix. So River Phoenix, because you're going to ask me about River Phoenix later. I met him there, and he was very friendly. He thought, he really liked what I did. Especially the European documentary, he liked a lot.
Mhm.
So he was all dressed in white, in sort of like a guru sort of type thing. I don't know. And so it was just all their friends watching, and it was just a lot of fun. So Flea. So that's also why in one of the documentaries, Flea takes me around to all the different houses of the Chili Peppers. He takes me to John's place, who then is the only one before he bought a house. So Flea was just a good friend. And Anthony, I remember. It's funny because I remember from the screening at Flea's house that Anthony was a bit, he was a bit, crook at me, a bit annoyed because there was one time I went to talk to them, and Anthony wasn't there. He was filming, and Anthony thought I didn't do enough. I didn't do my best to get hold of him, so he was a bit disappointed that he wasn't included in that segment.
Yeah.
And then also the segment where they make sort of fun. They're in the rehearsal room, and they're making fun of Anthony, saying like, Anthony is on a, he's fallen into an abyss of fame or something. They were just joking about Anthony, saying how they didn't know what to do if Anthony wasn't there, So Anthony didn't like that much. So Anthony and me has always been a bit, tense,
Yeah.
But okay, I mean, that was just, but Flea was, definitely I had always had best contact with Flea, and then with John, actually. Always had very good vibe with John going.
Okay. 6. Did you really believe that they would become so commercially successful?
No.
No?
No, I didn't know. No, it was just I realized when I was with them for 3 years filming them, and I thought, I thought the same what Flea said, that something had to happen, and I thought they have to make more pop songs to become really popular.
Yeah.
So yes, and then then came Blood Sugar Sex Magic, and then there was a pop song on it, and I remember Flea had a demo of the album before it came out that he gave to me. He said, "Oh, listen to this," and it was they just recorded it. So I was listening to it, and I thought, and I just heard a few songs. It wasn't a selection. I didn't hear Under the Bridge. It wasn't on it. It's just other songs, and I thought, That was Breaking the Girl, and I thought, oh, okay, that's a bit sort of poppy. They could maybe have a little hit with that, but I thought for them to become real big, they had to have more radio-friendly songs. And in the end, that's how it happened. But no, I really didn't think. I think because it really meant that Anthony would have to start singing, and that's what he did. And on the album on that album with a few songs. So, but no, I never expected that they would be so big. Nobody, I'm sure. Well, actually, not true. There were some record companies that were really believed that they could go far. So that's why they signed. Their record companies were fighting after they left EMI. Record companies were fighting, like Flea tells me in one of the interviews where the record companies are bidding, to get the contract with them, and they're invited by all the big record bosses. There's one interview where Flea tells about that.
Mm-hmm.
So,
okay. 7. Were you surprised, even after having interviewed him a year earlier in Amsterdam, I guess, with the first departure of John after the success of Blood Sugar?
yeah, I was. I knew that when I did. I don't know if you ever saw that. I did a little thing. I think a little bit is in the documentary, but it was a half-hour thing. I should actually find it and put it online, because I think it was called a little sort of quiz I did with Flea and Anthony. It's called Hit or Shit. It's where I played them a few videos of other artists, and I asked them to respond and say what they think.
Yeah.
And a little bit of that is in the documentary, but there's actually a whole show that goes on for a half hour. It's pretty funny. And I know that I wanted John to be there too, but it wasn't good. He wasn't doing very well. I know. I heard that, and he had his girlfriend with him, and then it wasn't the idea, and it was sort of against the code of the band. He has girlfriend.
Yeah.
I knew there was something going on, but I didn't know him that well to know that he was really thinking about leaving the band.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't know. I didn't expect. It was very unexpected. Especially because he was so important for them, in the record they just did, and I knew that he was the one who really changed the band by coming and making more writing songs with Anthony and Flea, instead of more of the same sort of, hip hop, rap, funk groove,
Yeah.
So I was surprised, yes.
Okay.
Even though I knew there was something going on, but I didn't know it was serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8. How was filming John in '94? I think everyone who watched that program was shocked to see him on that situation, right?
Yeah. It was very shocking for me. Very shocking. It started when he opened the door. I hadn't seen him. It was all, we were only there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
In his house one afternoon, and he opened the door, and I immediately noticed his teeth. His teeth were bad.
Yeah.
I remember his teeth were just great, and he looked, very different. His teeth. It was just a big shock to see him. I didn't know at all that he was going to be like that.
Yeah.
I had just called a friend of mine in Los Angeles, Dick Rude, who was a friend of the band. And I said, hey, do you know what John is doing? Because in those days, the Chili Peppers became so famous suddenly that they were on MTV a lot.
Yeah.
They were on television, and they became the darlings of MTV because they were funny, they were visual, So it wasn't as interesting anymore for me to follow them, because they were already around, they were already everywhere to be seen, on MTV. So then I thought, what can I do to make another thing about them? And then I thought, why not go, see how John is doing and why he left the band. So I called my friend and I said, can you contact John? Because I didn't have his phone number, but my friend did. So my friend called John and said, hey, Bram wants to interview you. He said, okay, yeah, sure, fine. He said, so I could just come right away. So we just did it, and we didn't know what to expect.
Yeah.
So then I saw him, and it was a big shock. And I remember after we did everything, for filming, it was the 3 of us again, camera, sound, and me, just 3 guys.
Yeah.
I remember standing outside of the house. It was Venice. It was near Venice Beach. We were standing outside the house, and we're looking at each other like, what the hell? What was this? We were like feeling very sorry for him too, because we thought he was in such a bad shape, So we were really shocked. I remember that very well. That we were just going like, and at the same time, of course, I knew that what I had filmed would be very interesting,
of course.
Because he was not just totally out of it. He was out of it. But he's also, he's such a smart guy, and he has such interesting, things to say, that it was a real strange mix of somebody had all these interesting things to say, and at the same time he was wasted. He was playing and singing false, and his guitar wasn't tuned, and this is really this weird experience, And then he was looking so bad, but he was still saying all these very smart and interesting things, So it was just a really crazy experience.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, it was very shocking for us. Yeah.
Very shocking.
Yeah, and I remember when it was broadcast. A few months later, I broadcasted, and some people in the press, were saying, not everyone, but some people, it was a discussion like, should I not have protected him against himself and not put this on television?
Yeah.
But I thought, this is interesting because this guy is a junkie. Happens a lot among rock musicians. This kind of thing happens a lot to people in rock music.
Yeah.
And now finally I get to see somebody who's willing to talk about it. So it's super interesting. I was always convinced that it was, and as long as I would treat him with respect, I didn't say, who's this junkie? I just, just the way I do is like I present somebody the way they are, and I just let people judge themselves. I'm not making any judgment. I'm just meeting a person, human being. So I thought it was fine, and it's up to people to make a decision about what they think of it. It's not up to me. I just go there and film it. And then later I found out I was the only person ever to film him in that period of his life.
Yeah, this period. Okay. It's 9. Oh, there's a fan question.
Yeah, I saw it.
John was different in the interview. He apparently had used something or was drunk.
Yeah. No, he was shooting up. He was, after after the first tape, those days we filmed with tapes. Every tape was like 40 minutes.
Yeah.
After tape 1, we have to change the tape. So we stop the camera and say, okay, can we change the tape? So then he goes into another room. He comes back. 10 minutes later, he comes back. He has another shirt on, I think. And his arms were bleeding. He had been putting a needle in his arms, and he didn't even care to wipe it off properly. And so I could see some blood on his shirt, from trying to find the vein. So this was, I don't know enough about drugs, but I could tell that in the course of the interview he was in very different stage, So he was under influence for sure, but at the same time he was doing this stretching a lot. He's like into stretching his muscles. So he was doing like these movements where he stretches or does this, and then at some point, he's doing that, and it sort of makes a weird combination of body movements.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, right?
Yeah, it's scary, and he's stoned, but he's doing the stretching, so it's just a bit of, it was weird, but he definitely was taking heroin, during the interview, definitely,
Yeah.
He went outside to the other room to shoot up, with a needle.
Okay. 10.
How's it going with the recording? Is it okay?
Yeah, it's everything okay.
Okay, good.
10. We believe that this interview was very emotional experience for you. There's another interview you did so heartbreaking like that?
No, I don't think so. No. This is definitely the most shocking interview I've done. And, I've done some, because I not only did pop documentaries, but rock documentaries, but also did, the last 10 years or so, I did more what they call more documentaries about real people, just normal people and their problems in life, whatever, just what they call human interest.
Yeah.
It's called human interest documentary. So, of course, I've interviewed some people who were crying in front of the camera because I remember one woman, mother was crying because both of her daughters, who were 16 and 17, had gotten pregnant, and they were both teenage mothers.
Yeah.
And some problems, and there was a problem in the family, and of course I filmed some heartbreaking scenes with people about their personal lives. But what made this special was that it was such a big shock, and to me and to a lot of people, to see him like that, and it's one of the interviews that people still talk about now. When I meet people and they know and say, "Oh, are you the guy who did that, John Frusciante? Are you that? Amazing." And then people tell me it was like, they were so impressed, or just so not impressed, but it was like when they saw it on television in Holland in 1994. It had such a huge impact on them. It's like a slap in the face, like a slap, or a punch in the stomach, So that's definitely one of the documentaries I did that had the most impact on people. So yeah, that's very special when you do make something like that and it has such impact on people. That's what you hope for when you make something.
Yeah. 11. After seeing the state that John was in, you believed he would survive. Did you give some advices to him at that time?
Advice to who? To John?
Yeah, to John. To get
No,
better, something like that.
No, I'm sure he had. He had his girlfriend, and I'm sure he had people that were more closer to him than I was. I'm not gonna say do this, do that. It's not my. I don't see it as my task. I'm not that close friend.
Yeah.
But I know that that the band, the Chili Peppers had tried, or friends had tried to get him to go into rehab. Rehab.
Yeah.
And but they didn't succeed. And then Flea told me this later that they had been trying, and then they sort of gave up on him. And from what I heard is that at some point they saw footage. Flea had seen footage of what I had filmed. I don't know how he got it through. Maybe I don't know. Anyway, somebody sent it, and he saw some of the footage, and he was really shocked.
Yeah.
And he also asked me, was it really necessary to broadcast this? And he never said I shouldn't have done it. He just was a bit reserved about it.
Yeah.
I think he had mixed feelings about it, to be honest. But I don't know. I just somehow think that maybe seeing the footage, was like also a wake-up call for him, that his friend was, because John was always really close to him,
Yeah.
was his friend. And I think that in the end, he and some other friends managed to persuade John to go into rehab.
Yeah.
So I just hope that maybe, seeing it was maybe partly influential on him to, not give up on John and help him by forcing him to go into rehab.
Yeah. Okay. Another fun question. Have you ever had the opportunity or desire to discuss with John about the documentary?
Yes, I have, because I know it was. There was a little something that happened in the last time I saw John was in 2007, I think.
Yeah.
In the Nijmegen concert that we filmed, and actually I was going to interview him then, and he said, "Okay, so we'll talk for 10 minutes."
Yeah.
And then it was right before the show, and they were not doing any interviews, but Flea had agreed to do an interview with me for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then I saw John. I said, "Hey, can we also do an interview?" John said, "Okay." And then somehow, right before the show, he said, "Well, no, it's getting late." And then he said he'd rather not do a personal interview, because I guess he associates talking to me with doing something personal, and he was probably afraid that I was going to ask him questions about the previous interview, and I guess he just wasn't in the mood to talk about it. So I'm sure it is not something that he likes to be reminded of, But yes, I have tried more recently, a couple of years ago, to reach his lawyer through Facebook. Actually, I found his lawyer, and I said, "Well, maybe one day could I do another interview with John, to talk about how it's going now.
Yeah.
And I said, I really want to make a story about how he makes music, just like follow, film him when he's recording an album, Because
Yeah.
he's such a maniac, in a way, like with music, he's just like so interesting to see somebody who's so dedicated to music and then see him record. I thought it was very interesting, but no, then he said John wasn't interested, and I haven't tried again since then. So I think what if there's one thing I would like to do, after all the Chili Peppers stuff I've done, is actually I would like to film John, just film him when he's recording an album.
Okay.
So that was definitely, if I have time, if there's an opportunity, I would definitely do that. Yes, but I have a lot of other stuff, so I don't always have to think about it. But I just heard he released a new album. I heard some of it. I wasn't too excited about it, to be honest. All this electronic music, it's not for me. But and then all these long songs, I didn't care. But still, I think he's an amazing guitar player, and it should. But a lot of stuff is on, of his, is now on the internet, So him playing the guitar, being interviewed. So, those days were different days. There wasn't so much on the internet yet. So what I made was pretty unique then, because it was not. There was no YouTube then, or it was all, and there was hardly. In the beginning, there was hardly any MTV, so it was all, it was really unique footage that I shot, and now it's a whole different time, of course.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that slap. It was a bee here. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah, no, it's fine.
I'm sorry.
I figured it was that. I saw you like, oh, like this.
Yeah. I'm sorry about that. The sound.
It's okay. No problem.
13. John Frusciante talked about returning to the Red Hot Chili Peppers between 92 and 98.
Yeah.
He talked to you about something?
No. But, no, what do you mean talked about? That was the only time I saw him, was when I filmed him in his house.
Yeah, but in that moment he don't, say about nothing about return the band.
No. He wasn't. No.
No.
I'm sure he wasn't planning to. No. When I talked to him, he left the band maybe a year and a half ago or so. I'm not sure, something like that. No. He didn't talk about returning to the band. I don't know. Then I didn't see him anymore after that. I don't know. I was just. I wasn't that close. I mean, had I been living in Los Angeles,
Yeah.
it would have been a different thing. But I'm here in Amsterdam. It's like 12 hours flight to Los Angeles. It's really far away from
Very
here.
far.
Yeah, so no.
Okay. 14. Besides interviewing John Frusciante at that time, you also interviewed Bob Forrest and River Phoenix,
Yeah,
two great friends of John.
yeah.
What can you talk about these interviews?
Well, the first one was with River Phoenix.
Yeah.
It was about his movie My Own Private Idaho,
Yeah.
and it was filmed in the Chateau Marmont in Los Angeles. And it was really funny because it was the movie was out, and River Phoenix was there, and the director Gus Van Sant was there. It was a presentation in Los Angeles of the film, and there were a lot of journalists everywhere.
Yeah.
And then I heard that River Phoenix wasn't doing any TV or film interviews.
Yeah.
So, and then somehow I got somebody to give him a message, and then I heard that he actually wanted to talk to me because he liked me, because we met at the screening at Flea's house, that I told you about.
Yeah.
So I actually got a very unique interview with him because he didn't like to be interviewed in front of television, and then for the My Own Private Idaho. For the journalist interviews, he didn't want to do any television. So, and I think he even mentions it in the interview where he says he doesn't like to be filmed as himself.
Yeah.
As a character, yes, but not as himself. And then it's a moment where he takes off his glasses. He said, because I asked him why. Well, he says, because then you can look in my soul, or you can steal my soul, or something like that when you look into, my eyes. That's why he kept the sunglasses on. So, but you could tell he was also very nervous about being interviewed. He was just nervous. He's just not comfortable, I guess, to be there as himself. Maybe he was also a bit, people said, yeah, he was also stoned when we were doing the interview. That could be. He was kind of funny. I thought he was very funny. I just had to laugh. We were just laughing a lot. He was just funny and making jokes. And we're just having a great time. I thought it was a really nice interview, actually, with him. It was really funny. And Bob Forrest was, that was one of my favorite interviews, because I'll tell you why I like this interview so much, because it was totally improvised. He just came off stage from the Ping Pong Festival.
Yeah.
He had climbed up in this really high thing. Everybody was talking about it, how he climbed, and it was so dangerous, and he risked, falling down and everything. But I just went to him with the camera straight after the show, and he knew me also because he knew about the Chili Peppers. So we didn't know each other personally, but he knew who I was somehow. So, and then it was just an interview maybe for 10 minutes, and I think it was live, or it was semi-live. I think it was even live. But somehow it was really magical that within 10 minutes he taught me, the story of his life, basically, about his influences, about who he admired, about Keith Richards, about, all these idols, and it was all about, that he wasn't afraid to die, and it was really intense, very intense. And it was just in the daytime, and it was just a lot of, the festival was around us, there was lots of noise and music, and so it was for me, it was very special to have such a, good vibe with somebody, in such short notice like that, just puff, 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 question, answer, answer, and this really, it was really one of my favorite interviews. Just because it was short and it was very to the point.
Yeah, in 10 minutes. 10 minutes, all the interview.
Yeah, and he was so open. I managed somehow. We had a good vibe going, and he opened up. He told me everything. There was, it was something. This moment, he says, "Oh, that's a very deep question," or something, or whatever. And then he just decides to just say everything. That was really nice.
Yeah, it's a very intense interview.
Yeah. I'm glad you appreciate it, because not a lot of people have seen that, but it's good. It's nice for me to know that even over there you've noticed it and found it. So that's nice.
Yeah, it's very, very good interview.
Thank you.
15. Last year, we from the blog, we interviewed the former John Frusciante's girlfriend in '94, Tony Oswald.
Yeah.
She told us, John makes all of his own decisions. He has a very strong will, and always lives the life he wants to live.
Yeah.
How do you see this second John departure of the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
I must be honest with you. I haven't, really followed the Chili Peppers the last 5 years or so. I don't know. I didn't know much what was going on. I was just, I was in different fields, making films and documentaries. So I wasn't following what they're having. So I don't know why he left, really, to be honest. I don't know. I don't know much about it. I'm sure there are fans that have read more about it, and I don't know. So I don't know what to think of it. All I know is that John is there. That's just John. That's how I've experienced him. He's just an artist. He likes to make art. He's only interested in art. He's not interested in being famous, or money is nice, of course, to buy a nice house.
Yeah.
Have freedom, buy yourself freedom. But otherwise, his only interest is totally like one, almost autistic person, who's like only into music, and he's totally. Whenever you talk to him about music, he's very intense. He's very. Yeah, I recognize it. I have a little bit of that, but he has like this much of it. He says. So. Yeah, he's just that. And we talked once. I had when he came to Amsterdam too, he did a show in the Paradiso, which is Amsterdam rock club. He did in the small room. He did a show, a solo show,
Yeah.
end of the '90s, and he was doing his own songs, and then we talked a bit. We didn't. I didn't film it. I regret I didn't film it then, but I was just went to the show as a fan, to say hello to him.
Yeah.
And remember, we were just. I said, you remind me of the way you work, because it's also, his way of working is always very spontaneous,
Yeah.
and it's not prefabricated. It's just very spontaneous in those days. So I told him there was a filmmaker I really admired from New York, from the '60s. His name is John Cassavetes.
Yeah.
And it was so funny that he said, "Oh, John Cassavetes, that's one of my heroes, as a filmmaker, because he has this really spontaneous style of filmmaking. It's all about the story. It's not about setting up the lights nicely. It's just about the story. Sometimes it's like a documentary. It's very, very intuitive filmmaking. And so it was interesting that he was a hero. That John Cassavetes was such a hero for him because." And I mentioned it to him, and he said, "Yes, that's." So it's interesting, but so that's John. It's John. He's totally dedicated. And he's a bit. How do you call somebody who's like pretty one-sided, just one thing?
Yeah.
That's him. But yeah, I think the positive way to describe it is he's a true artist. I think that's he's a true artist. Like we should be. Not care about money or what other people tell you to do. You just care about what you want to make. That's like, to me, that's like the best way to make art.
Of course.
And one thing I always remember, from the interview that he did on the boat in Amsterdam, that when he's playing the song with Anthony, when they're playing Under the Bridge.
Yeah.
That interview when he says that he just surrounded himself with all great art, to be inspired. He mentions a few names of big artists from like Da Vinci, or I don't know, just all these great artists, that he just surrounds himself with great art to be inspired. That's somebody who's so dedicated to making beautiful things. That's really something to admire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question. Fan question 16. With what words would you describe John Frusciante? Do you guys still have contact today?
No.
No?
No, we don't have contact. No. Like I said, I tried to reach him through his lawyer, through Facebook, but
Yeah.
didn't get hold of him. So no, I don't know. Then I sort of gave up. I had other things. So I already said about how I would describe him, right? So
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have contact with him now. No, I would like to maybe one day make a film with him, but I don't know if what's going to happen. We'll see.
With what words would you describe him? One word, like one word.
Artist, true artist, like I said, artist,
Artist.
true artist.
Yeah,
artist.
very nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you think about interview John again? You already responded, right? 18.
Yeah, I already said that. Yeah.
Yeah. 18. Another fun question. What was the funniest moment you had with the Red Hot Chili Peppers?
Oh yeah, I remember that. That's just a small thing. For me, it was very funny.
Yeah.
Because I remember, maybe you remember the scene where they are sitting in the rehearsal room in Los Angeles, and they're rehearsing for the album, for Blood Sugar Sex Magic. They're rehearsing there,
Yeah.
and Anthony is not there, and there's the three of them, John and Chad and Flea,
Yeah.
and they were just making fun of me. At some point, they started to make fun of me because they knew that I'm a big Little Feat fan. Little Feat is a band from the '70s, also from Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And they were, they started to make jokes about, there was a portrait of Lowell George, who's my hero. There was a portrait of him hanging somewhere in the studio, and he was going like, yeah, Bram, you like Lowell George? He's your, yeah. And they were sort of making jokes about Lowell George and that his ghost was somewhere in the building still, and they were just really joking around. They were just laughing and being funny, and then they were just in this really good mood, and they were sort of making jokes about me and about the filming and about Anthony, and that was really funny. I remember specifically thinking, this is so funny, and of course, because it was sort of personal for me, that they were joking about, they were trying to tease me with, my, it was funny. That was definitely one of the funny moments with them that I left. Yeah, I really had fun with them. It's funny.
Next question.
The ghost of Lowell George. Yeah, that was funny. And they were making so much fun. They thought it was so funny. They just go in there, just totally relaxed, and it was like there was no camera there. It was really.
Yeah. 19. Fan question. You were in some way influenced by the band, mainly by John. There's something you have learned in the time that you follow them.
From them, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, yes. I mean, their career is if you study their career, it's a career of a lot of successful bands. Yeah. Is that you start out doing your own thing, just do your own thing. Just do not what other people do. Just do your own thing and make your own decision and create your own freedom. And then at some point, you will, if you're good and you keep doing what you're doing, but I don't know. It's like what Flea says in the interview in Brussels. Is that you have to do that, keep that originality that you have, but at the same time, maybe just listen to what other people are doing that are successful. I don't know. It's just a combination of those things. Keep your. I mean, it's like the bands that have become successful, big successes. They often started out very, unique. They were very unique, and then they somehow crossed over to making their music more accessible for a bigger audience. And this is often how it happens, if it's a conscious thing, but it's also, it's not just maybe it's a conscious move, but on the other hand, it's like what Free says too, it's like it's a necessity to change, like when they did Stadium Arcadium, they decided we're going to make 3-minute pop songs,
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to do, and we're just going to be very strict, and we're going to limit ourselves to making the most melodic 3-minute pop songs we can come up with, except for a few exceptions.
Yeah.
And so that's when you think of how they started, it's a big difference when it was like anarchy,
Yeah.
It's in a way it's also a good development, because you cannot keep doing the same that you did, you have to, as an artist, you have to develop too. And I guess the longer you work, it also becomes a challenge to make something that's yours, but it's also you can share with a lot of people,
Yeah, I know.
And so I think they are like model. They did like great job. I mean, they did a great job in just going from the totally anarchy of the first records to where they ended, and I can only admire them for doing that in such, and just sticking around, just staying, just believing. Like there are many moments when they wanted to stop the band,
Yeah.
But they John and Flea and Anthony, they just stuck around and they just continued, and they said we're going to go through and with it, and then you can admire them for being so perseverant, and not giving up and just going on and just developing, their talents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they are an example for young musicians. They're a big example of how, if you look at their whole career, how they did it. They did very well. They never gave.
A lot of high and lows, I guess, huh?
Yeah, high and lows, and still they they never gave up, you know, and
Yeah.
they always, especially Flea. So he's such a dedicated person, just like John. He's very dedicated to his art. You know, he's very serious about his art, even though he's always acting funny. Flea's a very serious guy, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes. So good example. They're a good example for everyone,
Yeah.
and John is too. How are we doing?
20.
Oh, okay.
1
How
hour.
many more questions?
What?
How many more questions?
10 questions.
10 more.
Yeah.
Oh my God! I'm not sure if I can make it because somebody will be coming home. So we might have to do the other part later because I have to sort of hang up soon because somebody's coming. My little son is coming. We'll see how far we get. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you want to finish now?
No, just go on until somebody rings the door. Then I have to open the door and
Okay.
yes.
I will be fast, okay?
Yeah. Sorry, some of my answers are a bit long. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
20. Is there any John's album that's yours a favorite?
John's albums? No, I don't know. I just know a few songs here and there. No, I don't know. I don't know. It's I like some of his songs. I like some of his songs. I actually don't remember them now. There's one song I really like though. It's a blue album cover, blue with orange letters.
The record, Only Water for 10 Days.
What's the well-known song? There's one sort of hit song on it. I think I have it here. I can get it.
First Season. Go Inside.
Maybe that's it. Can I just look it up? Hold on. I'll just get it.
Okay.
Yeah, Going Inside. I think. I really like that. Yeah, I like that. You know, I'm sure there's more. I haven't. To be honest, I haven't listened to all of his solo records. You know, it's not. I haven't always been open to it, so I just knew it. I know a few here and there songs, but not all of them.
Yeah, that's my favorite too.
Yeah, that's funny. Good.
Let's finish with the last questions, okay?
Yeah.
Let's see. Good one. Okay, let's finish the three last questions.
Okay.
Do you know anything about Brazilian music?
Well, yes, I knew. I once interviewed Sepultura.
Yeah.
Of course. I did a little film about them actually in America. We filmed them I made a little 10-minute film about them.
Yeah.
We filmed them in Arizona in America once. So I know them. I filmed them and I saw them on Pink Pop, the big festival here.
Yeah.
And then of course, Astrid Gilberto and that kind of stuff,
Yeah, I know.
I know that. Not other music, no.
Okay.
That's about. I think maybe if you mention maybe one or two, but that's about it. I know.
The two last questions.
Okay.
Where can we find more of your work?
Well, it's there. I have two websites. Maybe you found them. One is called Bram Van Splunteren Films.com.
Yeah.
That's my website, bramvansplunteren.nl.
Yeah.
Those are the two websites that have stuff, and then it's just read it, here and there. Some of it is on YouTube.
Yeah.
There's still a lot that's not on YouTube. I'm planning to put more on online. That stuff that's still on VHS or on old tapes.
Yeah.
Especially since I just got a documentary I made about Nick Cave, and it's from 1987. It's really nice portrait of him living in Berlin, and I'm planning to. I think my company VPRO is planning to put it online soon this month because Whitney Cave is still a big star here, and he's doing concerts here. So hopefully they're going to put it online. And so yes, here and there I'm going to try to put more stuff online. Yeah, maybe I should because you seem to you. Maybe I should make a list somewhere on the websites where other stuff can be found.
Okay.
Recently, there's still a lot of stuff. Like people ask me about, Lenny Kravitz. I once did a little thing with him, and just recently somebody sent me. I didn't even know it was on YouTube. Was a little Lenny Kravitz film I did just when he just came out with his first record. It was just filmed in Amsterdam in a park in Amsterdam. It was really nice. Him playing the guitar like if he was some kind of street musician, and a nice interview about John Lennon with him. So every now and then there's this stuff. Stuff pops up, or but there's a lot of stuff on tape that's still not on YouTube.
Yeah. Okay. And the last question. There is something you want to say to those people who was reading or listening this interview?
What do you mean? You mean the people who read this now?
Yeah, or listening on YouTube or reading in the blog. Something you want to say to them?
Well, I'm so grateful. I'm honored that you actually called me from Brazil and you discovered my work. It's amazing that it's thanks to YouTube this has happened. And a few years ago my hip hop film was discovered by an American company, and now you're interviewing me about my work, and people from other countries too. They have found me through YouTube, and then they found me through my website. I'm happy to be of help, and telling them about my work. I mean, actually, I'll tell you a funny story. I went to Australia last year, to Melbourne, which is for us, it's the other end of the world. And and they were playing my hip hop film there, and I said, why don't you invite me, to be at the viewing? I'll come. I've never been to Melbourne, it's 24-hour flights, but I would like to come. So then actually they did a viewing of the film of Big Fun in the Big Town, and then they found Adidas to sponsor it, and they paid for my ticket there, and for 2 or 3 nights in the hotel. It was very nice. And the same last summer with in New York, they had my film playing at the Red Bull music event or something. Music Academy, and then they found another sponsor, Red Bull, to fly me there. So if you can, we can watch all my films over there in Brazil. I'll come over if you find a sponsor.
Okay.
I'll come over and talk about them. I'll bring tapes, whatever you want, DVDs. We can do a whole. I've done here in Amsterdam. I've done a whole evening with some of my stuff. It's only a small selection, and it's really fun to watch it and talk to it. People in Melbourne, they loved it. They loved me to come and talk about the film, and so whatever. I mean, I'm just happy to that the stuff is still being watched now. That we did it. That's so nice to know people still enjoy it nowadays, even though it wasn't made a long time ago.
Okay.
So if you want to invite me to Brazil, man, I'm your man. I'll come right over.
Yeah, you're invited, of course. Brazil is very beautiful. A lot of people from Europe liked it very much.
Yeah, I heard so. Yeah.
Okay then.
Yeah. Just say hi to all the beautiful ladies there too. I just think they're
Of course.
Can I say that?
Okay, Mr. Brand. Thank you very much.
So let me know when you have it online, huh? You have to tell me, of course. I want to know. I want to make a link on my Facebook and make publicize it, promote it on my Facebook, when it's ready.
Okay. So when you got some new material, you can talk to me.
Let's-
Then I post on the blog or in the
Okay,
fan
good.
page.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, sure, sure. I think if in the meantime I'll find that little Lenny Kravitz thing on YouTube because that's. I'll just send you the link. I don't think a lot of people have seen it. It's nice, and if I get the Nick Cave, and I know when it's online, then I'll let you know too. Right?
Yeah. Okay then.
Good. Well, nice talking to you. Thanks for all the good questions and good luck. And
Okay. Thank you very much. Good luck with
okay.
your works
If you
too.
have any questions, you can always email me or just message me if there's anything that you didn't get or you want to ask. You can always. I'll just write it down. I just didn't. I know this was going to be a lot of work for me to write everything down, so I just thought it's better. It's not. It would cost me maybe a whole afternoon to write everything.
Yeah.
So this is better for me. It's much better. So I hope you. It's okay.
Okay, that's okay. That's very nice. So
Okay,
thank
thanks.
you again.
Good
And
luck.
see
Let
you.
me know. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.